on the point about Drew Lock, you feel as though there's some confidence that he could be able to play this week. And, I mean, on one hand, you kind of feel a little bit bad for Brett Rippon because he did just get a win, the first win of the season, and he played pretty good. I mean, if they lose that game, you're going to point to the interceptions, but the interceptions ultimately didn't sink them. They were able to survive. They played better complementary football. Whatever you do, whether it's Drew Lock or Brett Rippon that plays in this game, that's the goal. We talked about that a ton. You got to find a way to play complementary football. But Drew Lock gives you the upside that you need at that position to go on the road and take on the Patriots. True or false?
I don't know how to answer that question exactly because I don't know if he does give you that confidence to do that or not. He's come back off an injury. You don't know. Mm-hmm. I would say you might feel good about it because he's got the arm to push the ball down the field and do some different things. I would say, and I want to go back to the other point. You talked about Brett Rippon and the interceptions. And great quarterbacks are able to overcome interceptions. Hmm? And that's the mark of a great quarterback. You can have turnovers, but you're able to overcome them. Look at guys like Brett Favre. Threw a ton of interceptions, but was able to overcome them. Look at a guy like Jay Cutler, Jameis Winston. Threw a ton of interceptions, weren't able to overcome them. That is the difference between bringing a great quarterback and not, is whether or not you have the ability to do that. Now, some guys are great and don't throw them. Aaron Rodgers. But the ones that do, that's the hallmark of being a great quarterback. And I think Brett Rippon will be a successful quarterback in this league, probably as a backup for a long time. As far as Locke and the confidence in him goes, that's such a tricky question to answer because I don't know if you can be confident in a guy who hasn't played a game coming back off an injury to his throwing arm.
You kind of know where I'm going with this then.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. But I am saying that, it's the time to put him out there. You've got to win this game. And you've got to put the guy out there that you think gives you the best chance to win that game.
But that's a little bit of a double-edged sword now, isn't it?
You have Brett Rippon on standby.
So you're saying if Drew Lock struggles, you go to Rippon?
Yeah, I'm saying you give Drew Lock probably a half of football, and you are reevaluating from there. And if you feel confident in that going forward, then you stay with Lock. And if you don't, then maybe you go to Rippon, you see what you can do, and you bring Lock back. The next, you keep checking that shoulder and seeing when it's ready and going from there. Lock, You're evaluating him as the future of the franchise. Rippon will be around. He'll be around the league for a while. He's going to be a backup. Nobody's making the mistake of making him a starter. He just doesn't have the ball velocity. But, end of the day, he's a guy who can be a capable, serviceable backup, spot start ability, and that's what he's there for. So I would not be opposed to trotting Locke out there, and if he's not able to handle it, then you put Rippon in there and see what happens. And they're going to practice for Locke now.
How do you handle practice reps then?
I think you go 50-50. Rippon's gotten plenty of reps over the last couple of weeks, was the guy going into the game earlier, so he knows the game plan in and out. And to be honest with you, they were prepping for Brett Rippon. They're going to prep now for Locke, and they hadn't been practicing. They've been doing virtual. Now they're going to practice for Locke. And so there could be, you could see a situation go the other way. So I would start with Locke, though. If he's able to go, ready to go, and you feel confident, you feel confident that he can do it, you put him out there.
I mean, it seemed like that towards the end of the week. Vic Fangio seemed to be a little bit more optimistic. He was watching him out there. I mean, I think from all the video that I saw of Drew Lock throwing at practice, it seemed like he looked comfortable enough. But you're 100% right, and you're kind of leaning into the direction I wanted to take this is because Drew Lock didn't get those reps with the ones last week. All this extra time that we keep talking about, well, Vic Fangio's got all this extra time, Pat Shermer's got all this extra time. Well, yeah, but the guy that's actually been doing it is Brett Rippon. So I love the upside and the potential and the evaluation that we're going to be able to get of Drew Lock for the remainder of the year. But you said it, you got to win this game. And who gives you a chance right now, knowing what you know, all things being equal, at quarterback? Who gives you that best chance?
I think if Lock is ready, you put him out there. And if he's not, then you go with Rippon. And I think you feel confident.
Yeah, but what does that look like? What does that mean, ready or not? I mean, he might be medically cleared. He might feel good.
Well, you want to make sure that the arm is healed enough that it's not going to give him soreness or trouble throwing the ball. And the requisite ball velocity is there, that his accuracy and everything is there, and that his footwork and all that kind of stuff hasn't reverted in the weeks that he's been off. And you go from there. If he looks like he's capable of doing it in practice, then you do it because you have him up against your defense in practice. And you say, okay, he's either making the throws or he's not. If he's making the throws, he's the guy. If he's not, then Brett Rippon's the guy.
Is Vic Fangio going to dance around it all week?
He'll dance around for a day or two.
Eventually, you probably want to settle. It's Bill
Belichick. You want to kind of dance around it for a little bit just to see if you can, fool them into prepping one way, take some of their reps away because they're already shortchanged on their reps. But in the end, if Lock's ready, he's going to be the guy. And that's the guy the Patriots are prepping for.
It's interesting with the quarterback for the Broncos right now because I feel like from the fan base, they are very excited about the idea of Locke coming back and what it can mean for the offense, in part of wanting to see what he ultimately can do and what he was going to look like for this team. But at the other side of this, there's always this infatuation and love for the backup quarterback that plays gritty. And so on one hand, you want to see Locke, and this might even be a poll we run at some point. I mean, but people are like, hey, look, man, Rippon just beat the Jets on the road. You don't want to at least see him for one more game or give him another run?
There's no controversy here whatsoever.
No, not really. Not like that.
If Locke is ready, you go with him. I think you feel confident that both your quarterbacks are prepared. If something happens to Locke, if Locke happens to not be ready, if he's hurt, whatever, then you're confident that you got an extra week of preparation with Brett Rippon, your backup. He knows the game plan in and out because he was executing it for the week leading up to the game originally. So I think you take confidence in the fact that you're over-prepared. You give Locke the extra reps this week, and you see if he's ready. And if he's ready, then you go with him. If he's not, then Rippon knows the stuff, and you go with him.
Do you go a little extra protection for Locke because you don't want him to take those hits?
Max protect is the vogue thing now anyway. If you're paying attention to the smart offensive coordinators out there, they're running a lot more heavy protection sets. They're going away from the Mike Martz philosophy of putting everybody you can into a route, and they're trying to give their quarterback more time because they know one of their receivers is going to come open. I think that's vogue. Like Arthur Smith was doing it last year with Ryan Tannehill. He started doing it again this year. So I'm not,
You're not doing it because he's hurt. You're doing it because that's really where offenses are right now.
Right. I think it's a two-edged sword there. I think you're doing it because it gives you the maximum opportunity to make sure that your guys can get open, but also you got an extra protector in there, so maybe your guy doesn't take as many hits. I think it's a win-win.